I just love skiing, like so much. There's nothing in the world that brings me more joy ever.
Scared to death right now, but I've got this. Like, I know deep down inside I'm capable of what I'm about to do.
I felt like the rehab was pretty simple and straightforward, and I learned how to appreciate my body and how to take care of it, what to eat, and like to stretch. I was 18, so I felt like I was invincible at the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Athletic Stance Podcast, a skier's perspective with your host, yours truly, Scott Chrisman. In this podcast, I have made it my job to go out and interview skiers at the highest level of the sport, to explore their perspective on life, what shaped and influenced them to become the person they are, and a whole lot more. First, let's take a look at our sponsors, because without them, none of this is possible. Our first sponsor is Northwest Tech. If you haven't heard of them yet, you're missing out. They hand make customizable 3-layer outerwear to order in the Pacific Northwest. And that means you know that it keeps you warm, dry, and looking unique while you're sending it around the mountain. They've been generous enough to give me a coupon code for my listeners. Use the code AOS75 to get $75 off any custom piece of outerwear. Their site is in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by POC. POC makes the best helmets, goggles, and protective wear out there. They've been dedicated to protecting athletes since day one, and I wouldn't wear a different helmet, goggle, back pad, or hip pads. With their spin technology and VPD system, there are no other products on the market that are like it. Definitely go and check out pocsports.com and protect yourself today.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Athletic Stance, episode number 27. This last week, I put the podcast on a small hold because I got a brand new microphone, brand new webcam, and I had a couple of people that I really wanted to interview, and I figured instead of trying to put out a marginal podcast, I was going to wait, be patient, and put something out that was really special. So this week I have a guest that has been very influential in shaping female skiing, and not only is she very influential on the female side and just skiing in general, she just had a brand new addition to her family and was generous enough to take time to delve into the topics of this podcast. And I am very excited to welcome Ingrid Backstrom to the podcast.
Well, my name's Ingrid Backstrom. I grew up in Seattle, Washington, and I got into skiing because my parents were on the volunteer ski patrol at Crystal Mountain. So we'd go up there kind of every other weekend, and camp in the parking lot in an old RV. And then probably when I was 12 years old, I started ski racing, and then I got kind of more into it and ski raced through college, and then moved to Tahoe after I graduated college to be a ski bum for a year. And that just, the one year turned into a really long time, and I'm still kind of ski bumming.
You grew up ski racing. How long did you ski race for?
Well, I kind of got a late start. I started when I was 12, so I wasn't very good. I kind of would get like last place in all the races, but for some reason I really liked it. I had a really good group of friends that I was racing with, and I slowly got better. And then by the time I was racing in college at Whitman College, we'd race against some Division III schools, but it wasn't like we weren't in like a very competitive division, but it was still just really fun, and I got a lot better. And I was skiing 5 days a week and kind of doing a lot of dry land and getting stronger. And so that's when I really was like, kind of fell in love with skiing and free skiing, and decided that after college I wanted to move somewhere and ski as much as possible.
Yeah, totally. What brought you into like the dryland and the fitness aspect, and how did that, like you mentioned that that was a contributing factor. So how did that change the way that you like viewed ski?
Well, yeah, when I was ski racing before that, it was just kind of on the weekends, and our coach would do a little bit of that, but I wasn't one of the top racers, so I didn't take it very, I guess I just didn't take it seriously. Plus, I was doing school sports for high school, so I was always doing other stuff. And then in college, ski racing was my main sport, and our coach was really into it. He was super into fitness, and so he'd always have us training. And um, I guess I always liked that type of thing. I always grew up doing sports and training, and um, so I was into it. And then I noticed how much better it made my ski racing, and that's just another incentive when you see results to keep up with the dryland.
How did you discover like big mountain skiing from ski racing?
I That's a good question. I moved to Squaw because a friend had told me it was the best place to go, and I kind of wanted to move to Whistler at the time, but the exchange rate was really terrible, and I just graduated college and was totally broke, so I couldn't really move to Canada and just make half, like 50% on the dollar. So I decided to go to Squaw. I'd never been there before. And I just got there and started skiing every single day. And I think I started hearing about free skiing contests, and someone said, "Oh, I'm going to one at Kirkwood. Do you want to come with me?" And I just on a whim said, "Sure, yeah, I'll come to a contest." And I got to Kirkwood and was just blown away by the skiing, and just kind of the group of people that were there. Like, it was all these really cool people, really interesting, really smart, fun people that were kind of this weird little tribe that traveled around and competed in this very niche sport. And it was kind of like, oh, this is awesome. These are my people. And I was really impressed by all the skiers, really, but they just sort of brought me in and encouraged me. And yeah, it was like I was still a ski bum, but I had something I was training for. And I think when you grow up competing and in different sports, it's hard to all of a sudden give that up. And so it was like, oh, here's a way I can still compete and kind of train for something, but it's way less rigid than ski racing, and just way more fun, and everyone's encouraging you and cheering you on. So it's just like a perfect time in my life to kind of stumble upon that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I grew up ski racing and I was, decent when I was younger, and I never put on muscle mass, and so I was never able to break past like the 40-50 point range because I just was like 135 pounds and I was racing against these guys that were like 180 or 200. And so I quit ski racing after graduating high school and took a year off, and I was like so lost for the longest time because I didn't have anything that I was striving for or pushing to be. And I like lost my identity for a while, and then I went to the University of Denver, and there was this little rail park near the University of Denver that um, I went to, and I would like ended up skipping class a ton and going, to this little rail park to hit, like they would bring snow in from Winter Park, the city of Denver would, and would dump it on this little hill, and there were like three little rails, but I was over there all the time. And then I found the Free Skiing World Tour and like immediately dropped out and was like, that's my crew. I'm sending it. And it's crazy how you have like that identity where you're pursuing a goal, and then when you don't have something to replace it, it really was like it was poison for me. I did not do well without it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, you grow up with this structure and those goals, and then all of a sudden, without them, it can be really, you're just kind of floating along. So yeah, I felt the same way when I found the free skiing contest.
What year was it that you graduated, and what year did you start competing?
I started competing in 2001. So quite a while ago.
Yeah. I was like way back in the day when it was was it still the Crested Butte Extremes at that point? Did you make it out?
Totally. Yeah, yep, the first time the Crested Butte Extremes, well, I went to them for a couple years and I did okay. And then after competing for a couple years, I was about to kind of give up on it and do something else. And I ended up going to Crested Butte just on a whim. Someone was like, well, I had other plans and they fell through. And my friend was like, well, I'm driving out to Crested Butte. You can jump in my car. And I ended up going there and then winning that contest. And the prize money at the time was $6,000, which I was like totally broke at the time. So that was huge for me. And also, the guys from Matchstick happened to be watching the contest. And that was basically how I got my break with Matchstick.
That's so crazy. I interviewed Griffin Post, and he talked about how he did well at the Crested Butte comp, and it was just after he had done well at a competition prior in Utah, and it was kind of like the catalyst that set him up, I think, for working with TGR quite a bit. So it's awesome that Crested Butte has been that stage for a couple people.
Yeah, I think it just depends, the right place at the right time, so much of it. But yeah, for me, it was kind of having that, like, well, I'm not going to compete much longer. I'm probably going to go get a real job soon. So I don't really care. I have nothing to lose, just going for it and not really worrying about how I was doing. And then it ended up really kind of starting my career in a sense.
Yeah, totally. It's funny how when you like you'll I find when I pursue something, too intently, it will always evade me. And then as soon as I kind of drop the idea of needing it and just like want it or hope for it, then all of a sudden sometimes the universe just gives it to you. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I just had to stop fighting so hard for it.
Well, it's so true. It's so much of it is about your motivations. Like if you're doing it just because you love it and you want to do it, then stuff kind of happens naturally. But if you're really trying to like, well, I need this, or trying to force something to happen because you think that's what's supposed to happen, then it just somehow doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, so true. What would you have done if you, didn't go skiing? You got your degree in geology, right?
Yeah, wow, you've done your research. Yep, I had a geology degree and I had done an internship at a geological consulting company, and that was cool, but I just wasn't sure that I wanted to hang out on drill rigs because that was a lot of what that work was. But I always really loved writing, and so I figured at that point, just from competing in free skiing contests for a couple years, I knew I really wanted to be involved in the ski industry in some way. So I thought maybe working for a ski magazine would be a way I could be involved. So I just I found this little magazine that had nothing to do with skiing, but they had a ton of typos, and I could just tell they needed some copy editing help. And so I wrote the person and said, hey, I really like your magazine. Can I volunteer for you and copy edit? And so I was doing that for a couple months. And then I wrote to Powder and applied to be an intern, and I used that like volunteer experience. I said, hey, I've been volunteer copy editing. And I used that to get the internship at Powder, which is funny because the other thing about that Crested Butte contest is at that contest, I ended up meeting someone just like casually at dinner and chatting with them. And then that person, Derek Taylor, ended up being the editor at Powder. And so he was the one that hired me as an intern. So that Crested Butte contest, again, it was like, all going to that one contest, I ended up meeting the person that was going to be the editor and hiring me. So I ended up getting an internship at Powder, which I thought, okay, sweet. Well, I'll just try to work at a ski magazine, work at Powder. But then I did that internship, and then I ended up getting calls from Matchstick Productions, and also getting a call from the person who was kind of the team manager at the North Face at the time, saying they wanted to sponsor me, and everything kind of just fell into place at the same time.
Totally. That's awesome. It's crazy how when you just like start putting yourself out there, and when you are, like you said, at the right place at the right time, and like the universe kind of sometimes it just lines up for you. That's incredible.
Yeah. And a little bit of luck doesn't hurt sometimes either.
Oh yeah, totally. I think, you just have to be prepared, because luck, can turn at any point for bad or for good. So if you're prepared for both, and aware that both can come, I think then, you can be ready to act when it does.
Yeah, that's true.
Or maybe you just don't even think about it. Maybe you just do, and you do enough, and everything works out.
Right?
Who knows?
Yep. Just keep trying. Something will work out.
Yeah, totally. So, what's been your favorite part of the skiing journey so far, if there is one, like an era or a specific trip, or like, can you even pinpoint a specific um, point that you cherish most, or have like the most nostalgia for?
Well, if you're talking like about a time period, I guess for me, kind of what was the biggest impression that any time period left on me was kind of at the very beginning when I was first filming with Matchstick, just because it was all so new and so mind blowing, and kind of my first trip to Bella Coola and my first trip to Alaska, and my first like all the filming around Tahoe, and a lot of it was with Shane McConkey and Scott Gaffney and various characters like that, and so it was just like these people that I'd looked up to, and then all of a sudden you're in these huge big mountains with them, and kind of there's nothing like going to those mountains for the first time. And we had some really challenging trips, and then some trips where it was just everything lined up and the snow was perfect, the people you're with were perfect, were like a good team, and you just end up finding the lines and everything clicks into place. And yeah, I think I was just so like blown away and in awe. And also I was at that point where I was so um I don't know, just brand new and like ready to just charge, and I didn't know anything that could go wrong. Like you're not thinking of anything that could go wrong.
Yeah.
All you're thinking of is just the opportunity and what you can do and what you want to do. And yeah, it was just a really crazy period in my life. But as far as skiing in general, the thing that I would say the best part about it is just the people that I've gotten to meet, and the friends that I have that are lifelong friends from it. Because skiing is a sport that's more fun to do with other people, and just getting to travel all over and meet incredible people and skiers everywhere has been such, yeah, something that, yeah, is pretty incredible.
Yeah, totally. I love it. I asked everyone like what their favorite part of skiing is, and I'd say 90% of the answers are something about the community, the people skiing with. And something that just clicked in my head is like skiing's not an individual sport, and it's not a team sport, it's a tribe sport.
Yeah, that's so true. I haven't. Yeah, well, because you can go anywhere pretty much, end up on a chairlift with someone, and you instantly know that you have something major in common.
Yeah, totally. And something like very relevant to talk about in communication is, the one thing that creates community.
Yeah, for sure.
Being able to bridge that gap very like tangibly, I think is awesome. Did you realize the magnitude of what you were doing, like when you were in that time period? Obviously, I think you it's hard to truly realize what's happening, but did you realize kind of that you were, shaping the industry in some ways and, making as big of a splash as you were?
Oh, geez. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's funny because I still kind of think of it as like, well, I was just going skiing, and I still kind of feel that way. But I don't know. No, not. I mean, I don't. I don't know. No, definitely not. It's just all about going skiing, and I was just kind of trying to do the best that I could from um that I for my own
Yeah.
potential, you know? Like I wasn't thinking about it in terms of proving anything or trying to do anything. I was just like, what's the best line that I can ski today for my skiing? And yeah, you're just thinking about it purely from a skiing perspective and what would be the most fun. And yeah, really, it was really just in the moment at the time, which is probably why I think back so fondly on it, because I was just very much in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's amazing how much just power and like serendipity you can draw from living in the now and not getting distracted by like the outside noise. It's so easy to like plan for things, and obviously you need to plan for things, but when you can have that time to just like focus on the like uh, the poignant moment, it's like things just fall into place so well. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, yeah, that's another thing about skiing that's so great is you're not like, if you're with a good crew, you're out there, you're not, I mean, yeah, maybe there is cameras being set up and stuff, but it's not like no one's on their phones. Like everyone is really working together as a team to try to just ski the best lines. And when you have a good day like that, even if you're just out skiing with your friends on a powder day and you're just all charging, um, it kind of just elevates the whole thing into something bigger.
Yeah, totally. Switching gears just a little bit, do you have any like morning or evening routines that you stick to?
Hmm. Yeah, let's see. If I'm on a big sun trip in the morning, I just like to have my coffee and just be chill and, get a good breakfast. I like to bring my snacks and pack my lunch and stuff and just really try to stay chill. Because it's really easy to get up when it's bluebird and you're going out filming to get super amped in the morning. But I found that I like wear out all my ampage in the morning if I get super fired up, and then by the time I get out there, I've like burned up all my adrenaline or whatever. But yeah, so just try to take some deep breaths, um, not get too overamped until it's time to. And then in the evenings, I have some stretches that I do just to kind of stretch out, and it also just helps me relax. And then, just probably put on some pretty chill music and just stretch and try to really relax as much as possible so I can get some sleep, because that's yeah, there's nothing worse than like lying awake all night with total angst about it the next day and then you don't get any sleep. So yeah, just try just try to keep a super even energy, like chill time until it's time to get out there, and then you're standing on top of a line and it's like, all right, now I can get amped up now that it's actually happening.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there were a couple times the first couple times that I competed like out in Snowbird that I don't think I slept more than maybe 30 minutes.
Oh,
Well, a couple of those nights and you're like, "Oh man, I'm so, like you've just become a zombie at some point, you know? You
terrible.
can't really perform the way that you want to." But Yeah, definitely can get like no matter what you're doing, especially I think when you have the unknowns,
Yeah.
like when you're going out and you're like, I maybe have looked at a zone, or maybe we have a couple possibilities for zones that we're going out to tomorrow, but we're not sure which one.
Mhm.
And I kind of think I have lines that I want on each of them, but I'm not sure how they look. So I need to get closer to like actually see it. So I could totally see how that's like even like especially on like a big daily trip or a big filming trip, how that would be super stressful.
Yeah, it's crazy how if I have a specific line in mind that I know about beforehand, I can get so much more scared and work up so much more angst about it. But if it's the unknown and it's a new zone that I haven't been to and I can't picture it yet, then it's way easier for me to chill.
Yeah, totally.
Which I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some like mind work. If I know there's a line or an air or something that I want to hit, I have to try to try to act like it's an unknown in the future so I don't get all nervous about it.
So funny. Just like pretend that you don't even know about it, walk up on it. Oh, this is awesome. I might try this.
Yeah, I know. Why is that? It's like if you stand at the top of something for a super long time and it just makes you more nervous. But kind of if you roll up to something and you're in that frame of mind, you're like, oh, looks good. I got it. Then you just drop in and it's fine.
Yeah, totally. Or even if you come over a blind rollover and it's like, like a lot bigger than you think,
Yeah,
but all you have like the only thing you can do is react.
yeah,
90% of the time you stick it. But like if you were to sit there and look at that and like hike back up and everything,
yeah,
then you probably like you may not even hit it
right.
or whatever.
Well, yeah, then you're totally just overthinking it at that point. Whereas if you just go naturally and let your like muscle memory and your kind of just do what you would naturally, then it's just like you're just doing it. But if you overthink it, then it's really easy to get in your head and just psych yourself out. For me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um I guess that leads to a couple questions. What's one technique that you've used to overcome fear or that you do use to overcome fear besides pretending that it's brand new?
Right. I'm gonna work on that one for the future. But let's see. I would say I try to want to listen to fear because if it's telling me something important, then I want to pay attention to that. But if it's something where I know that I have it, like I guess I just try to come from a really rational approach. I try to look at it like, okay, this is an air that I know I can stick. The landing looks good, takeoff looks good. I've done several airs that are the same size or the same type before, so I know I have it. And then I kind of just walk back, like, why am I nervous? Is it something else that's going on? Like, just try to remove all those mental blocks that might be there and then just try to think about and visualize what could go right. So I kind of walk back and take out the obstacles and like the hazards and like, okay, if this happens, if that pocket slides, where's my exit? And just kind of talk through all the things that might happen and remove those out of the way. And then I can focus on what I'm going to do and how I'm going to approach it and just focus on that. Yeah. So I just take a really rational approach and try to think it through. And then it's more about the visualizing and the feeling it and what we were just talking about, where you kind of just turn your brain off and hopefully just go.
Yeah, totally. Kind of like mitigating all risk logically. And then, you're like, okay, brain, you've done everything you need to. Now it's time to be quiet.
Yes, totally. Now shut up and I'm gonna ski. Right.
Exactly. Just perceive. That's all you got to do.
Yes, for sure.
Do you have any sort of like meditation that you do or have done that has like ever helped you, or do you meditate at all?
Not like I don't have like a regular practice. I try to just kind of think about nothing when I can. But I yeah, I don't know. I think the things that have helped me the most over time have been just really positive thoughts and visualizing success, or just like I remember one time standing on top of a line that I was really nervous about and just thinking about like everyone here wants me to succeed. And like everyone in this team is rooting for me and knows I can do this right now. And that helped. Or just kind of looking around at the mountains and kind of just taking that calm, that inspiration from the scenery. That really helps, just taking some deep breaths and being like, look at where I am right now. So yeah, just taking that inspiration, that sort of calm, that meditative state from the people I'm with or the surroundings is really what's worked for me.
Do you have any sort of specific nutrition or diet that you stick to?
Um, no, I'm not really that strict with what I try to cook a lot. And I just try to eat a lot of really, um, I guess, just natural whole foods, stuff like that. Not too much processed stuff. Have a big garden, and we try to grow a lot of good food here, and I try to can a lot of it and preserve it and freeze it for the whole year. Yeah, I would just say nothing too strict, but as much natural whole foods as possible.
Nothing too fake.
Oh boy. Well, so we have, I don't know how big our garden is. We probably have, this is going to sound crazy, but we probably have 50 tomato plants and like 30 pepper plants, a bunch of onions. I don't know how big the garden is, but then we have 200 fruit trees in our yard too that we planted kind of an orchard. So yeah, and then we have like 30 blueberry bushes, a bunch of raspberries. We kind of have a crazy yard right now. It's kind of out of control, but we can't keep up with all the weeds and stuff. But it's pretty sweet when stuff starts producing.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely epic. That sounds like my dream property. Like all the most delicious homegrown foods, fruits and vegetables, and that sounds delicious. I remember the blueberries when I was doing Forest Service work in Skycomish. The blueberries were so good.
Yeah, it's kind of huckleberry season up here right now. I gotta get out and pick them.
Yeah. Man, I miss those.
Yeah, well, come on up. They're going off right now, I think. So I've heard.
Yeah, I need to make it back there. I don't think I've been back to Skycomish in, I don't know, at least 5 years. Too
Oh,
long.
nice. Well, yeah, you gotta come ski Stevens sometime.
I do. I skied Stevens the spring break before I worked Forest Service there, and that was one of the most enjoyable resorts I think I've ever skied. It was like that home. I skied at Eldora growing up because I
Okay.
grew up in Boulder.
Yeah.
And it really, really reminded me of like if you took Eldora and you just added, like one more sweet lift with a bunch of pillows and a bunch of really steep terrain. That was what Stevens was. 'Cause it was like, a ways out of town, very homegrown feel, and nothing like too crazy in the base area,
Yeah.
but tons of fun.
Yeah, that's sort of Washington skiing, kind of off the beaten path, and yeah, awesome.
I'll need to come back up and maybe we can grab some turns together, shred
Yeah,
some
that'd be
pow.
sweet. Crystal or Stevens for sure, where we mainly go, but anywhere up here would be awesome.
Definitely. Do you still do anything with Crystal Mountain? I know that you did some coaching with them, I believe.
Yeah, I did for a couple of years. That was super fun to work with a free ride team, and I helped kind of lead the program and coach, and the kids were so awesome, and I loved skiing with them. And then we had our first daughter, and we lived probably 3 hours away from Crystal, and it just with childcare and traveling over there and staying over there and stuff, it just was going to be a little bit too much. So I haven't done that for the past couple years, but I really, really enjoyed skiing with all the kids. So hopefully I can figure out a way to, I don't, yeah, just at least get some skiing in with the, the juniors. Was super fun skiing with them. Really motivating and challenging.
Totally. The Groms are crazy. They'll go huck anything. You're like, wait, what? Okay. Like, I guess that means that I should probably do it because you're half my size, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Groms are crazy the way that they'll send. I watched some Groms train it off like I don't even know. It was probably like it wasn't like too big, but it was like a 10-footer probably. And they were all, I don't know, 10 or younger. And it was like 6 of them just trained it off in Jackson. I'm like, man, things have
I
changed.
know. It's just so fun, and it's good energy to be out there just thinking of skiing as playing as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, learning from them how to ski,
Yeah.
how to do it
Yeah,
right.
totally. Yeah, because they're not overthinking it. They're just skiing and having a good time. So nice.
Yeah, definitely. Crystal was awesome. What's the boot fitter that is in the base area there?
Oh, Martin?
Martin. So Martin, I had a comp there, and it was one of the really rare days that it was like really, really cold. I think it was -10 degrees, and we were hiking out to the King.
Yeah.
And with the humidity, my cuff to my boot cracked, and they were Dalbellos, and he was going out to Revelstoke, somewhere in Canada, with um, the Dalbello family the next week. And I literally I inspected with my cracked cuff, skied down to whatever lift that was there, and someone there was like, go see Martin. And I was like, okay, I gotta go figure this out, or else there's no way. And I think I was sitting in 5th or something after day one. So it was like I was really amped. It was one of the first times I had done pretty well on day one, and I felt like I was in really good position. So I hauled butt down, and Martin actually gave me the cuff off of his own personal Dalbello Crypto Pro,
No way.
because he was gonna see the Dalbello family then, like that. And it was literally the next day or maybe 2 days. I almost like am. He mentioned you for whatever reason, and I was wondering maybe you were gonna go on the trip with him. I don't know if you've ever been on a heli trip with him, but anyways, that's like why it's all coming to mind. But yeah, he gave me his cuff off of his personal boot so I could compete, and I ended up getting 6th.
That's
And
amazing. I mean, I totally believe it. Martin's so awesome. He's one of the best boot fitters, and like you said, just a super, super kind person. Yeah, and just loves skiing. He's so passionate about it. And of course, he was probably so psyched to see you do well and take the cuff off his own boot and give it to you, because he's just that kind of guy. That's awesome.
yeah, he was really, really cool guy. Shout out Martin. I know the skiing community really is, like you're saying, how everyone is related, like relatable, or like there's always a relatable thing, but it's like it's so small even, like I remember I actually stood in line in customs in Chile next to you, like I don't know, 2012 maybe.
What the heck?
And I was too nervous to come say hi, but we're going down. I think there were like a lot of people in the airport, and it was at La Parva. What was the film comp that was at La Parva that everyone was doing? Eye of the Condor?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it was for Eye of the Condor, and I was staying in Fariones, and the Skiers Cup was there as well. Um, and there were like a bunch of us in the customs line, and I just didn't want to like blow you up. Hey, Ingrid, in the middle of the customs line or whatever, everyone's there with their ski boots. But yeah, no, it's funny. It's just so funny how small of a world it is. I called out Mark Abma on that trip. I was like from I don't know where I was. I was on like a porch like 100 feet away. Didn't know him at all, but I was like, I think that's Mark. Hey Mark, can't believe you're pro. I'm so much better than you. And he turned around and like laughed, thought that I knew him. I was like, no, I'm just
That's
calling
funny.
you.
Yep. Mark's super chill.
But anyways, such a small world. So small.
I know.
Well, speaking of traveling, what's one of your favorite places you've ever traveled?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think pretty much anywhere in the Arctic or Antarctic have been kind of some of the most surreal places. Like Baffin Island was incredible. Got to go there and ski couloirs quite a while ago. But and then Greenland, which is also in the Arctic, and Svalbard. Um, I don't know. There's just something about being surrounded by all that ice and water and mountains and all the different wildlife and everything that was really crazy. And then Antarctica, just skiing down like it's and all these trips have been um, backcountry skiing, so all human powered, and then you're just really like part of the environment. And then you come back down to the water in Antarctica, and there's penguins and seals and just skiing. But then there's so much more to a trip like that than just the skiing. It's being in this incredible environment and using your skis to travel through it and have fun and interact. And it's just such a crazy way to experience the world for me.
Yeah, totally. Slows you down and, forces you to like deal with all of the like existing conditions now and there's really like not much time or energy that, can be spent to focus on much more. And that's it's like a powerful practice, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Um, do you have a favorite travel tip or hack that you're willing to share with us?
Oh, geez, let me think. A tip or a hack? Um, I don't know. My favorite tip is to, if you can, try to do your, like maybe set aside the time you're going to go on a ski trip ahead of time and get the time off and know you're going to go somewhere. But I try not to pick or commit to where I'm going until last minute, because then you're kind of guaranteed good conditions. Like if I'm going to take a road, I'll wait until the last minute to know where I'm going to go, because I want to, I might pay a teeny bit more for lodging or whatever, but not that much. And then you're going to get good conditions. Whereas if you commit to a trip super far in advance, then you just don't know what kind of conditions you're going to get. And now with like all the, yeah, I just feel like with air travel, a lot of times you can get last minute good deals if you're going to fly somewhere, or with Airbnb, you can kind of always find a good place to stay last minute, or a lot of hotels have, I don't know, or just crash on a friend's floor, basically. Have a couple of friends, different spots, and be like, okay, I'm either coming to visit you or I'm coming to visit you, depending on who has the better snow. And yeah, last minute.
Right. You guys better do your snow dances and we'll see who's better at it.
Yeah, totally. And I'll come cook dinner for you and yeah, make you a bunch of food and get you a bunch of groceries and sleep on your couch. And yeah, then you just know you're going to get good conditions.
Yeah, totally. I love that. That's perfect. And then yeah, you're not like committed to like going to Taos in, March of this year or something.
Was it not, did they not have a good March this
I
year?
think that they were pretty well dry by the end of March, I think.
Oh,
Think it was
that's
pretty
too
warm.
bad. I really want to go to Taos. I've heard it's amazing.
Taos is absolutely epic. We had a comp there that we got. It was like 70 some odd inches in, I want to say like 3 or 4 days. And there was literally not any wind. So it was like I forget the percentage, like the water content, but it was like, I want to say like 10% or something, just super champagne powder.
Well,
And
that's
it was still, even that light, you had to straight line down like 40-degree pitches because you were building up so much snow on you and around you. It was
oh
crazy.
my gosh. That sounds epic.
It was
I wanna-
probably the most epic trip I've ever been on. We parked our Subaru that we drove in the driveway, and the snow was like level around, on level ground around. By the time we left, we had to dig into our car to back it out. It was nuts. It was awesome. Taos is incredible. Definitely get there if you can, when you can.
All right. This is all sounding really good. I want to go there right now. Not right now. Yeah, I want to have that trip right now.
Yep, right. It's there's also like a bunch of little mini spines. Like it's not what you would expect for being so far south, or it's not what I expected for being so far south. Definitely worth it.
There's some big mountains down there in the kind of southern areas of the states, and then if they get good snow, it's just epic.
Well, we're talking about low snow years. So, what do you think about climate change, the social condition, um, ski communities, the state of the industry? Do you have an opinion that you want to share?
Just a small question. Let's see. I gosh, yeah, that's a huge topic. I get really discouraged when I see that more isn't being done on a major level about climate change, but that just fuels my fire to do more locally. And I'm encouraged by what I see in ski communities, what people are doing on a local level, just because ski communities really depend on the snow not only for their fun and recreation, but also for people's jobs and livelihoods. And then there's a whole lot of other stuff, like where I live, agriculture is huge, and so the snowpack is huge for the farming and all the fruit trees here. So I think when it begins to affect things on a bigger, deeper level, like economically and health wise, then people are motivated to change. And I think that just talking to people, I don't think it matters what side of the political spectrum you're on. I think everyone wants clean water and access to good food and less wildfires and all the stuff that comes along with minimizing our impact on the climate. So I think it's just a matter of getting everyone on that same page and figuring out what everyone has in common, rather than trying to figure out, rather than like battling or fighting or trying to tell people they're wrong or they need to do things differently. I think it's just about when you can find what common ground people have, and then working towards solutions that everyone can get behind. So when I see stuff like that, like in Truckee, how they worked to get everything on renewable energy by a certain time, and I see these small communities working together for stuff like that, and that's really encouraging.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of people out there that are doing a lot of good and that are putting a lot of passion and energy, like a lot of the energy that they have into making a change, and that's always super inspiring. And then, like you said, it's like the opposite when you look at a global scale, or like you see what's being put out in the news or stuff like that. It can be kind of the complete opposite picture, and a stark contrast. And so sometimes it's hard to, I don't know, like have a ton of faith sometimes, but It's cool. Like even just hearing that you guys are doing so much to grow your own food, like that minimizes your impact on the world a lot. And if I could have not if when I can have a garden in my yard and when I have the time to do it, I'm gonna be definitely making sure that I can do the same. And
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it's one of those big ones where you're like, well, shoot, at least I'm, lucky enough to have experienced what I have got to experience. And, I'm going to fight to do everything that I possibly can for me when I do have children, that they can experience the beauty that nature holds. Because holy crap, I would not be the person that I am today without nature. And, none of us would be, but I
Yeah, for
think
sure.
especially
And
people
just,
like you and I.
yeah, totally identifying those things that everyone has in common. Like everyone wants to have open spaces and be able to recreate and be able to, maybe we recreate in different ways, but everyone wants to have access to nature, no matter who you are. And everyone can identify with growing your own food or whatever it is. So just finding those things that people have in common and working towards that instead of calling it, we're fighting climate change, or everyone needs to get on board, or you need to stop doing this. It's just like, hey, how can we, what do you want and what do I want, and how can we work to get those things?
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. And I love, we talked about how uh, communication is what creates community. And one of my good friends and mentors says, the point of communication is to see each other's point of view, not to be right. And
Yeah,
if we all walked around looking to see each other's point of view instead of like walking around looking to argue and be right with our fellow colleagues, friends, peers, whoever, then all of a sudden collaboration becomes possible, and you're not deflecting or arguing or trying to conquer or become victorious in any way. You're just looking for the ways that do collaborate and do cross over, and then the potential that lies within that space.
yeah, totally. Like I really try, even if there's someone's point of view that I totally disagree with, instead of just my natural reaction of being like, wow, that's really dumb or whatever, just try to be like, huh, I wonder, I just try to be more curious about it now. Like, I wonder how they got to that point of view. Like, how do they feel that way? Why do they feel that way? And just try to understand it and be curious about it rather than just immediately jumping to my conclusion or my judgment in my own head.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like, yeah, I love that. What just thinking about what would have led someone to think that or believe, that set of circumstances, instead of judging the fact that they do believe it because you have gone through a set of circumstances that has told you otherwise.
Yeah, totally. Because, yeah, I want the same benefit of the doubt. If I have an opinion, I would like someone to be curious about how I got there rather than just like say, oh, well, that's a dumb opinion.
Yeah, totally.
And then, like you said, that leads to better communication. And then you're kind of like, oh, wow, we actually do have some common ground and we do want some of the same things. And then all of a sudden you're seeing someone as a person instead of just like um, another dumb opinion or whatever, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yep. Totally. Yeah, I think it humanizes others a lot more, and then yeah, you're able to like relate to, yeah, the human aspect instead of just the idea of the fact that they're an adversary or a foe or like someone that's meant to be defended against.
Yes.
Or what's one piece of advice you would pass along to someone who wants to do what you do?
I would say ski as much as possible and um, just examine kind of why you're doing it. Like, make sure, well, not make sure, but just kind of follow what it is about skiing that you love and just try to do it as much as possible, and the rest will fall into place. Like if you're out there every day doing it for yourself and kind of following the type of skiing that you really love to do, then I think it just becomes, like we were talking about earlier, you're skiing from a really natural place, and that shows, and then people are going to gravitate towards that.
Totally. Yeah, I think that it's so crazy how subconsciously it's almost like I don't know, maybe a little woo woo, but like your vibe, basically, the vibe that you ski with is like very you can perceive everyone's vibe through skiing super well. I feel like, you can tell if someone's skiing angry or if someone's happy or if
Yes.
someone's taking it super serious and very
Yeah.
tense.
Yeah, totally. And people want to watch and be around and kind of follow, for lack of a better word, people that are just out there having fun and doing it for the pure love of it. And I think that's what'll take you really far with skiing, whether it's professionally or just your own skiing in your life. Yeah, I think that's gonna reward each approach the best.
Yeah, totally. Um, is there one piece of encouragement or wisdom that you received that stuck with you, whether it was in ski racing or in college ski racing or
Huh.
um,
Gosh, that's a good question. Um, it maybe sounds silly, but there's one. I think just so many things that Shane McConkey said, or just being on trips with him, really influenced my skiing. Where if I was ever being too nervous or getting worked up about it, he'd just be like, he had such a way of cutting through the crap. Like he'd just be like, Ingrid, it's not brain surgery. It's just skiing. Like we're not out here curing cancer. It's just skiing. Whenever I was getting too serious about it or whatever, so he just really helped me not take myself too seriously. And then another time I was on top of a line getting all nervous about it. I'm like, well, that snow down there looks bad and it looks really hard. And I don't know, it looks, just getting worked up in a tizzy. And he was like, well, you ski bad snow all the time at home at Squaw. Like, it's going to be bad. Just ski it like you would normally at home. I was like, oh, right. You're totally right. Like, just look at it for what it is instead of worrying about what it's not. And yeah, he just had a way of just cutting through the crap and setting me straight. So that was really awesome.
Definitely. It's always good to have someone that keeps you in check and it tells you when you're letting your mind get too worked up, because it's easy when you're in that cycle to just be like, no, like what I'm thinking is totally rational. I'm just being me. But on the outside, sometimes people are like, hey, actually, no, you're really wound up right now.
Yeah, for sure. And just having that way of bringing you back to having the perspective on it.
He's one person that I really wish that I would have had the pleasure of meeting. That's for sure.
Yeah.
If you could have one significant impact in the world, what would it be?
Oh, geez. Hard hitting questions here, Scott. Geez. I guess if I could get more people if I could somehow have more people get out and enjoy nature and be able to have better lives and just like, I guess it help people experience the benefits that I have somehow from skiing and spending a lot of time outdoors, just help more people have that, then that would be amazing.
Yeah, totally. What's one of the silliest, funniest, or like, just craziest things that you've done on skis or in the ski world? Like just fun, silly?
That's a good question. I don't know. Probably some of the times, there's only a couple days, but a couple times I got to go out and film with Sarah Burke, and we would always go on film tours together and just hang out. And it was just like when we got together, it was always just about having fun and being silly. And one time we built a jump and we're just like hucking ourselves off of it and trying everything we could, and it just ended up being a really funny, hilarious session. And yeah, it was like every time we just didn't, I don't know, when you get together with someone, I've had a couple of times like that with her where we just built a jump and went nuts, and it was like, I don't know, we could just get together and do that, and it was really, yeah, I don't know. No, I'm just blabbering, but it was just egging each other on, and really good landings and no regard for our personal safety or anything, just pure hucking and egging each other on, which was awesome.
That's awesome, and the perfect venue to do so.
Totally.
That's awesome. Love it. Where's the best place that people can find you and stay up to date on your journeys?
Probably Instagram, although I haven't been on it too much lately, because I just had a new baby. But yeah, Instagram will be the place that I like to go the most to hang out on, I guess, in ski season.
Cool. And that's just at Ingrid Backstrom, correct?
You got it, yeah.
Sweet. Well, congratulations on the new addition to your family. And thank you so much
Thank you.
for taking the time to let me ask you questions and for offering your personality and your brain to my audience. I appreciate it a lot.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Scott. It was awesome to talk to you, and I really appreciate it.
Well, there you have it, folks. The Athletic Stance, a skier's perspective with Ingrid Backstrom. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I definitely felt privileged to get Ingrid for an interview so close after her adding a new member to the family. I hope that you guys really enjoyed what we talked about. And as always, if you liked, please rate, review, and subscribe. I really appreciate every single one of you guys for listening. And we'll see you on Wednesday for another interview.